In today's video, we're going to be focusing on how the trail wrist in your backswing, at the top of your backswing, is affecting your club face position and therefore your ability to hit some straight golf shots. Stay tuned for more info. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on the trail wrist at the top of the backswing, the position it should be in to get the correct lead wrist position and a better club face position, and how that's going to affect your ability to hit some straight golf shots. So I see a lot of issues with club face position impact. That is a real key part, and where the club face points will really dictate where that ball starts. Obviously, path has a little factor in there as well over the start line, and strike location has a factor. But the club face position, how square it is to our target line of impact, is a real critical point. And if we can return with that club face square to our target line or our intended start line, we're definitely going to be playing some better golf. So I'm going to be focusing on the trail wrist. A lot gets talked about of the lead wrist position. So for my lead hand, that is my hand closest to my target. So we talk a lot about that flat lead wrist at the top of the backswing. And yes, there are a couple of players in this position, but not many. The golfers who get there will change their wrist position at the start of the downswing. Otherwise, they will have that club face wide open, be hitting it way right to target for right-handed golfer, unless they're manipulating, unless they're using a lot of hand and arm action. In today's video, as I said, I'm going to be focusing on how you could think about this a little bit differently, focusing on the trail wrist. It'd have the same effect, but maybe it's a different way that could work for you. And that is why I'm holding a plate here. I haven't got mad. I want you to feel like you're a waiter. So balancing the plate on your right palm, on your trail palm for a right-handed golfer, that's your right palm. And what we're going to be trying to do is make a backswing and feel like we can balance that plate, get it pointing upwards, because we've got that trail wrist in this position at the top of the backswing. Now, if I put my lead hand to my trail hand, when I get in that position, you'll see I get a very flat lead wrist. If I'm going to get either way, I would get the left wrist this way, a little bit more in flexion rather than in extension. What we don't want is this extended wrist, or quite often referred to as a cupped position. So there, and I often see that. Now, what does that cause if I get the wrong wrist position at the top of the backswing? So if I do get this position, this cupping position of the lead wrist at the top, I'll tend to see my trail elbow out flying away from my body. I'll feel like my palm is pointing of my trail hand more downwards rather than up to the sky. It's the opposite feeling we were getting. And it means not only does the club start to point cross-lined to the right of the target for me as a right-handed golfer, but I get that club face very open. So an open club face at the top of the backswing will look like the toe of the golf club is hanging straight down. We really want a very neutral position where we could get the club face at the same angle as our lead wrist at the top of the backswing here. That would be a very neutral position. And obviously there's some players out there like a Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm, that would get their lead wrist actually the opposite, a little bit more this way, and they'll get the club face pointing more up to the sky in a slightly stronger or more closed club face position. And I'd prefer to see that than ever getting that club face open, because if we have that open face on the downswing, which I see day in, day out, that open face, it's gonna go out right to target for me as a right-handed golfer, unless I manipulate, unless I use hands and arms, lean back, do something to try and close that club face. And of course, we'll do it now and again, but we're going to lose a lot of control. So a lot gets talked about this lead wrist, perhaps less so about the trail wrist, and it's just a different way of thinking about it for you. So again, with that plate exercise, in golf posture, holding it with your right hand, I've got the plate a little bit wet. So what I want to try and feel here is as I wind up, I can get that plate balancing on my palm, pointing a little bit more up towards the sky. That's going to give me that correct lead wrist position at the top of the backswing. The wrong lead wrist position, I won't do it and smash the plate. This way, the plate is going to drop to the floor. So it's a real good exercise to get that sensation. Now, there are some limiting factors. If you're struggling to get that correct trail wrist position at the top of the backswing, There could be a couple of reasons. It may be lack of flexibility here in your shoulder blade rotator cuff. I often see guys who are in the gym getting big with their upper body, but they haven't worked on mobility, flexibility, perhaps a little bit that way and too tight, so it could be there. And it may be that you actually need to allow a little bit more turn, and we're not talking about this too much in this video, but perhaps you need to allow this trail hip to turn a little bit more behind you. The trail need to straighten a little bit more so you can create more hip turn, more shoulder turn to be able to achieve that wrist position. If I really limit my lower body movement, I can't get my trail elbow in the position I'm really looking for, my trail wrist in that position. If I can allow a little bit more rotation here of my hip and my shoulder, I can now get that waiter position balancing the plate at the top of the backswing. So it may be that you have to feel that there's a little bit more freedom with the trail hip and the shoulder moving a little bit more behind you to get the desired lead wrist position. But if you are someone who's struggling with the club cross-lined, pointing this way, or an open club face, if you get that on video, that looks like the toe is pointing down. On the downswing, it'll look like the toe is either straight up, or even worse still, where the club face is pointing up towards the sky. That's not a good position. From there, we're definitely going to struggle to square that club face consistently. I like to see that leading, the leading edge of the golf club at the same angle as my left arm. I'd prefer it if we were going to go either way, the face pointing more up towards the sky. And pre-impact on the downswing here, I'd like that club face to more match my spine angle. There are a good couple of checkpoints to look for on video if it's something you struggle with. That trail wrist may be the key to you improving that club face position. Potentially you've worked on that lead wrist before and you know you're trying to get a flatter lead wrist. Now, if it's something you've struggled with, try a different way of thinking about it. Try that feeling of that waiter position. I'm going to make some golf swings now, just getting that feeling that my right palm, my trail palm points up towards the sky. And that really gets me that feeling of softening that trail elbow, not getting that arm flying away from me if you're a chicken wing type of player. The club is irrelevant here. I'm hitting a 5-iron just for demonstration, as it's about the right distance from a, what are we, a 190 par 3. This is a tough, tough hole. But I'm going to get that sensation just a couple of times, feeling like I'm that waiter at the top of the backswing to improve my club face position. The less manipulation we need through impact, the better. Let's give it a whirl. Oh, well, we're definitely going to pose for that one. Go in. I reckon it's about 15 foot short, actually. Right on line, on the green there. Definitely take that on this par 3. Lovely straight ball flight. What does that tell me from a straight ball flight if that ball started on line? It tells me my club face was square at impact. We don't want a lot of manipulation with our hands and arms, so working on that club face in your backswing can really start to change your club face in the downswing and vitally impact. If that video has helped, please hit the thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel for all the other content. Cheers guys, we'll see you soon.